Gimignano. The result was the most expensive and most sought-after cloth in Europe. Because of this prosperity, Florence had undergone a building boom during the 1300s, the like of which had not been seen in Italy since the time of the ancient Romans. Quarries of golden-brown sandstone were opened inside the city walls. Sand from the river Arno, dredged and filtered after every flood, was used in the making of mortar, and gravel was harvested from the riverbed to fill in the walls of the dozens of new buildings that had begun springing up all over the city. These included churches, monasteries, and private palaces, as well as monumental structures such as a new ring of defensive walls to protect the city from invaders. Standing 20 feet high and running 5 miles in circumference, these fortifications, not finished until 1340, took more than 50 years to build. An imposing new town hall, the Palazzo Vecchio, had also been constructed, complete with a bell tower that stood more than 300 feet high. Another impressive tower was the cathedral's 280-foot campanile, with its bas-reliefs and multicolored encrustations of marble. Designed by the painter Giotto, it had been completed in 1359, after more than 2 decades of work. Yet, by 1418, what was by far the grandest building project in Florence had still to be completed. A replacement for the ancient and dilapidated church of Santa Reparata, the new cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore was intended to be one of the largest in Christendom. Entire forests had been requisitioned to provide timber for it, and huge slabs of marble were being transported along the Arno on flotillas of boats. From the outset, its construction had as much to do with civic pride as religious faith. The cathedral was to be built, the Commune of Florence had stipulated, with the greatest lavishness and magnificence possible, and once completed, it was to be a more beautiful and honourable temple than any in any other part of Tuscany. But it was clear that the builders faced major obstacles, and the closer the cathedral came to completion, the more difficult their task would become. The way forward should have been clear enough. For the past 50 years, the south aisle of the unfinished cathedral had housed a 30-foot-long scale model of the structure, in effect an artist's impression of what the cathedral should look like once finished. The problem was that the model included an enormous dome, a dome that, if built, would be the highest and widest vault ever raised, and for 50 years it had been obvious that no one in Florence, or anywhere in Italy for that matter, had any clear idea how to construct it. The unbuilt dome of Santa Maria del Fiore had therefore become the greatest architectural puzzle of the age. Many experts considered its erection an impossible feat. Even the original planners of the dome had been unable to advise how their project might be completed. They merely expressed a touching faith that at some point in the future God might provide a solution, and architects with a more advanced knowledge would be found. The foundation stone for the new cathedral had been laid in 1296. The designer and original architect was a master mason named Arnolfo di Cambio, the builder of both the Palazzo Vecchio and the city's massive new fortifications. Although Arnolfo died soon after construction began, the masons forged on, and over the next few decades a whole section of Florence was razed to make way for the new building. Santa Reparata and another ancient church, San Michele Visdomini, were both demolished, and the inhabitants of the surrounding district were displaced from their homes. Not only the living were evicted. In order to open a piazza in front of the church, the bones of long-dead Florentines were exhumed from their graves surrounding the baptistry of San Giovanni, which stood a few feet to the west of the building site. In 1339, one of the streets south of the cathedral, the Corso degli Adamari, now the Via dei Calzaiuoli, was lowered so that the cathedral's height should appear even more impressive to anyone approaching from that direction. But as Santa Maria del Fiore grew steadily larger, Florence